Hello internet friends, my name is Catherine and I'm the human behind Christian Miss Couture, and today is another episode of the Color Wheel Monday. So this is a series in which I will make my way through color theory one color at a time. So in the first portion of this big series that I'm doing, we are currently working on the primary color triangle. So we've already completed the red portion, we've already completed the blue portion, and now we're working our way through the yellow portion of this color wheel. So today we're going to be continuing our journey through yellow. So with yellow, we've already added red, we've already added blue, and now we're going to be working with, since we can't really add white, we're going to do a gradient of the yellow, and then we're going to be adding black to see how potent, I would say, black can truly be with this color. It's going to be an interesting exercise in potency with the black, that's for sure. So if you're interested to see more, there's an entire playlist with it, and let's get into today's episode. It's another edition of Color Wheel Monday. So what we've been working on so far, we've done completed the red portion of the primary colors. We've completed the blue portion of the primary colors, and now we're working our way through the yellow portion of the primary color triangle. So we've already done the adding red portion and the adding blue portion of this segment. Today we're going to be we can't add white, so we're just going to do a gradient of our yellow, and we're going to be adding a black as well in a separate thing to see what the color will turn out like. So I'm very excited to see if we're going to be obtaining, like, it's almost like an olive green. So I'm very excited to see this. But the first thing we need to do for this is to create our stock solution. So what is a stock solution? It's basically the liquid form of our dried powder. So we're going to be doing a 1% stock solution of true black and a 1% stock solution of brilliant yellow. Our goal is to do a 1% depth of shades for the yellow and 1% depth of shades of the true black. So that means that we're going to be doing 1 gram per 100 milliliter of water. So we're going to start this. But before doing anything else, we need to make sure that we're protecting our lungs. So please make sure that you're wearing a respirator that is made specifically for volatile powders, I guess. All right. So I will be sounding a little bit weird. So I forgot to grab a spoon. Okay, so we're going to be doing our stock solution. As always, make sure that your scale is zeroing out. So we're going to do 1 gram of true black. Almost. Oh, just a tiny bit too much. Perfect. Come on. So zero out, and since we need yellow for 2 of the things, we're going to do 2 grams. Okay. So I'm just going to... Okay, so now that it's no longer in a dry form, I can remove my respirator. So the reason I didn't do the entire 100 milliliter quite yet is simply because we want to try to make sure that we are dissolving the powder as much as possible before reaching our 100 milliliter line here. And it's just a little bit easier when you do it little by little. So this one is good. We're going to see. And I already put dye on myself, as per usual. Perfect. And I did 2 gram and 200 milliliter for my brilliant yellow because we're going to be using more of it. So the reason I'm using those colors specifically from Dharma Trading Co. is because they are part of Dharma Trading Co. has like a starter kit with primary colors in the black. So I think it's very important that we try to play with those colors first, so that way we can learn how color theory works, and that way you Zoe, and that way you can learn how to work with those. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our mason jars. So I'm going to start with doing the gradient for the brilliant yellow. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 0.05 milliliter over here, 0.10, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75% depth of shade, and 1% depth of shades for our brilliant yellow. So we're just going to need, for some reason, I could not find my syringe. Okay, so using my little pipette, we are going to do the 0.5 here, and this way we can see the colors better. 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 10. So this is for our brilliant yellow. So we'll see a beautiful shade, like we're going to be able to see a very beautiful gradient of yellow in this. And we're using 10-gram mini skeins of fingering stroll from the pick, and there is currently no citric acid in those jars, and we have roughly 350 milliliters of room temperature tap water. And please also be advised that whenever I'm using those containers, they are only used for dyeing yarn. I do not use them to cook or can food or anything food related. So this is something that you need to keep in mind. Once you've used something to dye, you can no longer use it for anything, because cross-contamination is something that can happen quickly, and we don't want to poison ourselves. This skein is not having a good day. And the reason I'm using 10-gram mini skeins is simply because it makes the math so much easier for my brain. Because 10 grams is 100%, is 1%. It's just, it makes it very easy to calculate. Okay, so we're going to put that in the thing. So we're going to just add the jars right now, because it takes a long time for the water to raise the right temperature. We still don't have any citric acid of right now, because we want to make sure that we will have a good it will take longer for the color to strike the entire skein of yarn, so we will have a better coverage when it comes for solid or semi-solid or tonals, whichever people call them, because it will have taken a little longer to have reached everything. And what I'm doing is basically a double boiler. So if you were to temper chocolate, you would do something similar. in a different like scale of thing, I guess. We're going to turn this on and we're going to go back and do the yellow and black. So let's do this. Okay, so there is no citric acid in my jars. There is roughly 350 milliliters of tap water in the jars. So we're going to be adding the yellow in first. And since we want at 1% depth of shades for all of it, it's just going to be 10 milliliters of the stock solution that we've made. Because we're working with 10 grams mini skeins of straw fingering weight from the pick. So since we need 10 grams, we're using 10 grams, we need 10 milliliters to make a 1% stop solution for those skeins. That's what I mean by I'm using 10 grams mini skeins, because the math is so much easier for me and for my brain. So now we're going to be adding the true black. So we're going to do the same gradient that we did earlier with the yellow. So we're going to be starting with 0.05 milliliter, which is not that much. And I'm very curious because black is a very potent color. So I'm very curious to see what color we're going to be obtaining in the end. So 2.5 milliliters. And we're going to be needing 7.5. And true black smells like ink. It's very interesting how it smells like ink. So there's probably some pigment that is used in like actual black cartridge ink from printers in there. Okay. There we go. So we're going to be needing to stir this one a tiny bit. We're almost obtaining brown. I'm just curious to see if we're going to have any yellow left in the last one. That will be interesting to see. Like, you know what? It dulls the color for the yellow, that's for sure. It's less brilliant than what we had for the 1% stock solution, 1% depth of shade that we had for just yellow. So I'm just very curious to see the final result for this one. Like, it gives this olive brown color, but at the same time, I don't know if I would call that brown or green, because there must be some blue in the true black, I feel. See, we're getting in the gray area, but we don't have any heat yet, and we don't have any citric acid yet. So the color is not fixed quite yet. So there might be like some shift in colors. We'll see. I'm just very curious to see the final result for this one, because we've had such dramatic color change when it came for the fades with the other colors. So I'm just very curious. But we're going to be putting this into our pan now. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to be adding. Okay. Ouch. Okay, so there is no citric acid as of right now. There's no heat yet. So we're going to be adding the water. And we are going to turn on the heat because it takes longer for the double boiler to reach the correct temperature. So we are going to be waiting about 15 minutes before adding the citric acid, and then I'll come back, added it, and we're going to wait for the temperature to reach the perfect point, which is between 85 Celsius and 95 Celsius. Once we've reached that temperature, we can do our 30 minutes cooking time. And after 30 minutes, we'll come back and we're going to see if we need to adjust the citric acid level or the temperature, or if we can just turn it off and let it cool down overnight. So see you in 15. So now we're going to be adding the citric acid because it's been 15 minutes, so we had time to make sure that the color was slowly absorbing and striking. Rule of thumb for citric acid is usually 1 tablespoon per pound, so 454 grams of fiber. However, since we only have 10-gram mini skeins, we don't need that much, so I'm barely doing a quarter of a teaspoon here. We might need to readjust, but we should be fine. My only concern when it comes with the true black is that if there's too much acid in the true black, it kind of will glaze the yarn if we're not careful. So I can already see that the color is striking nicely, and we've almost reached the right temperature for the yarn. So we're going to be cooking it for about 30 minutes, and we're going to be coming back after that. Oops, my bad. Okay, so this is kind of black with a sort of a weird undertone of brown. This one looks more like black. I think it's black. So this one is a good example of how potent true black can be. All right, see you in half an hour. So it's been about half an hour, and this is looking pretty good. Yeah, so we're good with this one. We're going to turn it off. Okay, we're doing good here. Come on. Don't want to touch you. Okay. That's good. Yes. So fully struck the yarn, fully absorbed. We're going to turn this off, and we're going to let this cool off completely overnight. And tomorrow we're going to be washing the skeins, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, so it's cooled off overnight. I prefer to do that because sometimes some dyes prefer to finish to fully strike the yarn and just like bind itself when you're letting cool down completely. So this is what I like to do, and also because I have long days of work, so sometimes I just need to take the break. So I'm going to put the both colors into the same bowl. Usually I don't do that. Usually I try to separate the colors just to avoid any issues, any potential issues of bleeding out. However, I had clean jars for both of them, so I was not too concerned about it. The only concern I could have had was basically that true black sometimes, I don't know if it's because I'm in the basement and that I basically don't see properly because the lighting isn't the best necessarily, but I just feel like sometimes they're like a gray tint into the water when I'm washing off skeins that has true black in it. So I don't know if that's my issue, but usually I'm okay. So I will be able to show you my jars after that and show you that they were completely clear. So I wasn't too concerned about any bleeding per se, just maybe a hint of gray in the water, but that could also just be sometimes if you don't properly prep your yarn, there will be like colors in, but it's not the color of the dye, it's just It's just the oils of the yarn. Say so when you're dyeing with cotton or merino cotton, often you will have some color and it's not actual dye. It is because there's sort of a waxy feeling to the cotton, or I don't know if it's an oil, but there's something that like it makes your water really gross, and it's just that's just you have to deal with it, and you have to understand that it's not your fault. It's just the nature of the fiber. That's part of working with natural things, right? There is little quirks here and there. So I just let it in the basin, and there was absolutely no like let out of excess dye, so I was very happy about that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this in my spin dryer, and then I will let it dry overnight, and tomorrow we'll be able to see the final result. So first I will show you the jars, and after that I will see you the final result. So here's the jars, and you can see that they are perfectly clear. There's no dye, and I'm very happy about that. And here's the final result of our fade with the brilliant yellow and incorporating true black into, hi Zoe, into our brilliant yellow. So you can see that the fade makes very beautiful soft shades. So this is just to see where your yellow can bring you. So it can bring you to this soft, buttery, golden color up to this very brilliant yellow. So it deserves its name. Okay, Zoe, wish la ghost. Wist. Thank you. And what fascinates me with True Black is that we have colors. Like, to create black, we need different pigments in different shades. So I'm convinced that there is blue in the True Black, because when I look at adding the True Black into my yellow, I see grains, a lot of grains. So this is why I'm saying that I'm sure that we have blue pigment in True Black. Even this one, it looks like a very, very dark green rather than black. So this is why it's important to wait until the yarn is fully dried before making any conclusion when it comes to the final color, because this is not exactly black, it is really green, and this is just very fascinating to me. This is still, to me, it is still quite yellow. However, I would say that with a True Black added, it is more on a neutral side now rather than on a warm side, especially compared to this. Because don't forget, we've put the exact same amount of dye in both of this when it comes down to the yellow. We had 1% depth of shade for both, so we had 10 milliliter of brilliant yellow for both of those. So just adding the 0.05 milliliter of True Black created this drastic change. And I think this is why I like to do the black and the yellow shades, like the fade, at the same time, because we can have a really good comparison to see how far. Zoe, stop, please. I know. So because we can see how drastic just adding that 0.05 milliliter drop of True Black made it compared to the main character here, to our main color. So it's very, I just find it very fascinating, and this is why I'm doing it this way now. I know that for the first time I did it in separate videos, but I just think it's a good idea to to see the difference. So I don't know if this is what you were expecting when it came to the True Black. Let me know in the comment box below if this is what you were expecting with True Black. But if you liked the video, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one very soon. Bye!